The Shooter Shack. Welcome to the Shooter Shack. I shoot at like 80%. Where the hell they do that at? Where the hell they do that at? Welcome to the Shooter Shack. The Shooter Shack. I help you make your money back. Like where they do that at? I shoot 80%. Every Sunday with the kid. I'll make your money back. I shoot 80%. Every Sunday with the kid. Like when
All right, welcome back to another Stanley Cup edition of the Shooter Shack. I'm Pat Gregoire, joined by none other than Brett McConaughey, aka The Shooter. Round one in the books. We're heading to round two. And Shooter, that first round was unbelievable, absolutely electric. Lots of surprises. One of the biggest surprises in all of the first round was the Toronto Maple Leafs almost getting Game 7 against the Washington Capitals. They couldn't get it done. So Alexander Ovechkin and the Caps are heading to round two to take on Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins. But we're not going to talk about that yet because our guest here today knows those two teams pretty well.
And he does for sure, Patty. And we today are going to be joined by Bryan Muir, Stanley Cup champion and a long-time NHL defenseman. He's going to sit down with us a little bit later, and he's going to talk about that Washington-Pittsburgh series with us. But Patty, while we have their attention, let's get this thing rolling with that second round series with the Oilers and the Ducks.
Yeah, exactly, Shooter. We're going to start things off with a little bit of Canadian content as the Edmonton Oilers are taking on the Anaheim Ducks. We saw the Oilers and Connor McDavid knock off a very veteran team in the San Jose Sharks. And on the other side, the Ducks, they absolutely steamrolled through a Canadian team in the Calgary Flames. So a lot of people wondering, can McDavid and this young Oilers team knock off a very veteran squad in the Ducks?
Well, they are a veteran squad, there's no question. But these two teams have only met once before in the playoffs. That was 06 when the Oilers took it in 5 games. There's two storylines, Patty, that really stand out to me. And that's Cam Talbot versus John Gibson and Ryan Kessler versus Connor McDavid. Edmonton took the season series down 3-2, but the Oilers, they showed me a lot, knocking off that veteran banged-up squad in San Jose. But I'm telling you right now who I'm going with, and it's my old former university alumni, Alabama Huntsville goaltender Cam Talbot and the Edmonton Oilers to take this series down in 7 games.
I got to agree with you, Shooter. I think this one's ending in 7, but I think it's the Ducks coming out on top. I don't know if McDavid and this young Oilers team has enough to knock off another experienced team in the Ducks. They look so good in that first round. I got the Ducks in 7. All right, sticking in the Western Conference, you have the St. Louis Blues taking on the Nashville Predators. And Shooter, you had the Preds beating the Chicago Blackhawks. You didn't have them sweeping, but hey, you still made that pick. They looked so good in that first round. But the Blues looked pretty good as well, led by Jake Allen in between the pipes. And a lot of people wondering, is this the year that the Blues can kind of get through and finally get to the Western Conference, or is this Nashville team too good?
Well, I'll tell you right now, Patty, I don't think the Blues are getting out of this round. I think they were lucky to face Minnesota that had a stumbling back end of the season that went in a little bit cold. But like I said before, I like Nashville the whole way. But in 20 years of being in the same division, the Blues and the Predators have never seen each other in the playoffs. So this is going to be really interesting. I didn't think that the Preds would sweep Chicago, but they outscored them 13-3 in those 4 games and really made a statement. But in this matchup, like I said in round 1, Nashville's top 4D with Yossi, Ellis, Subban, and Ekholm are the best in the league. And when Pekka Rinne's playing the way he is, I got to go with James Neal and the Nashville Predators in 6 games.
Shooter, I couldn't have said it better myself. I got them in 6 as well. All right, we're shipping over to the Eastern Conference where we probably don't have the sexiest of matchups in the second round here. You've got the New York Rangers taking on the Ottawa Senators. But with that being said, Erik Karlsson has been absolutely disgusting so far in the postseason. You could argue he's been the best player in the playoffs thus far.
Best saucer pass of all time.
Disgusting.
This guy has put them on their back, and he pushed them through Boston, which I didn't see happening. But the Rangers have dominated the Senators for a long time, and that's going all the way back to 2012. The only other time these two teams played in the playoffs, and the Rangers took that in 6. But Henrik Lundqvist right now is playing like he did 3 and 4 years ago, and he's going to give the Rangers a really good chance at getting back to that Eastern Conference final. The Senators, they got a lot to play for with Craig Anderson, his wife, but at the end of the day, I think there's too many holes in that lineup, and I like the Rangers to go on and win this series, and I like them to do it in 6 games.
I agree with you, Shooter. I think the Rangers punched their ticket to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I think it goes to 7 games. All right, it's the series everyone's talking about. It's the Capitals taking on the Penguins. It's Crosby versus Ovechkin, but we can't get to that just yet because we're bringing on Bryan Muir to talk about that series. So before we get to that, we got to get to everyone's favorite segment. It's the Donkey of the Week.
And with this one, ladies and gentlemen, Patty, we are heading down south for an NCAA baseball game where we have San Diego State and Santa Barbara. The pitcher, he's got a close eye on the runner at first, and he takes off to second. And here comes the throw from the catcher. Boom! Right off the back end. That's a little bit of a sting there, buddy. Walk it off, kid. And the catcher behind the dish, you got to open your eyes. And you are the Shooter Shack's Donkey of the Week. All right, guys, welcome back, and here we are. I told you we had a special guest, and he's right here in the flesh. We got Bryan Muir, Stanley Cup champion, NHL veteran defenseman. Thanks a lot for joining us. How you making out today, Muirsy?
Well, it's nice to be here in the Shooter Shack, I'll tell you that.
Well, it's great to have you, buddy. And with this series that we got to talk about, Washington and Pittsburgh, you're a guy that's went the distance, won the Stanley Cup. I got to ask you, how do you feel about the new NHL playoff format?
Not a big fan, to tell you the truth. I wish we could go back to where it was when I was there and the one played the 8 and you didn't have that the cross-conference thing and all this flipping and flopping. But I think that the NHL is constantly evolving and they've tried this system, and I think that you're going to see these matchups like Pitt and Wash and these two top teams playing in the second round. And I think that you work too hard as a player to earn that right to play a lower seed team and kind of not make it easier to get through, but I think it'd be an easier road than to go through Pittsburgh. So I think this series is going to be a pretty crazy series, and I wish that the playoffs would revert back to the original way.
And I totally agree with you, buddy, and I just think that you have two of the best teams in the NHL meeting in the second round. It doesn't make sense to me. I think it's a bit of a joke. But let me ask you, Muirsy, can you tell me about the Ovechkin and Crosby rivalry? I know you've played with Ovi and you played against Crosby. What can you give us on that?
Well, these two superstars don't like each other that much. It's an amazing rivalry between these two teams. I remember we went into the old igloo and we'd play, and there was such an intense hate. Just from the start, when these two superstars came in at the same time, they were pitted against each other, and the series is going to be unbelievable because of that rivalry. It's going to magnify everything, and these playoffs have been truly amazing. I mean, you look at the overtimes, 18 overtimes in the first set of series. It's pretty amazing. It's a record, I think, and I think the league's going to like that, and I think you're going to see a lot more of that going forward here.
And it's been amazing. I mean, you have to tell yourself it's been some of the best hockey that you've seen. In every series, some of them were better than others, but they all added some great value to it. But I'm asking you right now, Muirsy, do the Caps have what it takes to go all the way this year?
I sure hope so. I got a lot of friends there in Washington, and I've been rooting for these guys for a long time. There's a couple guys that are still there playing that I played with, and I think they do. This year they beefed up the back end. They're playing good team defense. Overall team defense is the most important thing. Defense wins championships. We all know that. But they also have the offense on the offensive side of the puck to score. Johansson, Backstrom, Ovechkin, Oshie, they're all scoring at opportune times, at important times. So I think this team, with Holtby in the net, can continue to play the way he does. I think they can win it. For
sure. And you can't forget about a guy like Justin Williams. When you need a clutch goal,
Mr. Game 7.
The kid from Cobourg, Ontario gets her done. But let me ask you, Bryan, let me see what you're thinking about this one. Back in 2001 with Colorado, when you guys won the Cup, can you talk a little bit about that run and what it took to actually get it done?
Yeah, that was it was an interesting year for me. I got traded from Tampa Bay Lightning, which is the worst team in the league, to the best team in Colorado. Ended up getting called up and being part of that whole run. And that was an interesting time for me, because to get immersed into that culture with the Ray Bourque era, and he was touted to win the Cup. We won the President's Trophy. So it was such an important thing that once you win the President's Trophy, we ending up just focusing on single game to single series. And that's really what those guys did. And the good leaders in that room, from Sakic to Blake to Forsberg to Bourque, they led that game by game, series by series, and that's what a lot of these teams need to do now. Is you need to just focus on the next game and not think about the big picture. And I think that's what we did the year before they fell and stumbled. Ray Bourque didn't win it, but that year, the 01 year, we did win it.
And you definitely got it done. So the last question I got to ask you, your team in Colorado in 2001, all you fellas in your prime, taking on, let's say it's the Capitals of this year or the Penguins, whoever is the best team in the NHL, how do you feel you guys stack up against the team of today?
Well, let's look at that team. I think there's 6 Hall of Famers on that team that I played in 01, from Blake to Bourque to Sakic to Forsberg to Waugh. There's a lot of them, and I think that I know that people think the game has changed, and it has changed. It's gotten very fast, very skilled, but those guys are all in the Hall of Fame for a reason. And I've gotten to play with Ovechkin. I've gotten to play against Crosby, and I know some of those superstars of today's era. But I still believe that if we were pitted against this team, we would definitely win.
Well, he definitely thinks they win. It doesn't matter if he played with them or not. This guy knows, there's no question about it. But before we let you go, Muirsy, every guest that we have, we always run them through the last minute of play. So we're going to put 60 seconds on the clock, ship you some rapid fire style questions.
Fun.
One-word answers. You get
One-word answers. There we go.
All right, let's get her done. All right, Muirsy, we got 60 seconds on the clock, and we're going to start it right now. Loudest arena you ever played in?
Montreal.
Toughest forward to stop one-on-one?
Jagger.
Biggest beauty you ever played with?
Brent Johnson.
Bud Light or Coors Light?
Bud Light.
How many days did your cup party run for?
40 some odd hours.
One player you were kind of afraid of?
Chris Simon.
NHL 20 years ago or NHL today?
20 years ago.
Ovechkin or Crosby?
Ovi.
Claude Lemieux or Chris Draper?
Drapes.
A teammate back then that would still be a stud today?
Joe Sakic.
Once again, we'd like to thank Bryan Muir for coming down here in the Shooter Shack for a live interview in studio. It was pretty sweet. That was a great interview you had with him there. Lots of great insight, being a longtime veteran NHLer. We hope to have him back on once again. Before we take off though, folks, Shooter, you've got a new sponsor you'd like to thank.
And there's no question about it, Patty, and Fresh Crowd. You can find them at freshcrowd.com. They are the social media superheroes. They take care of all my social media needs. They've built my following up quite a bit, and I couldn't be happier with what they provide. But check them out at freshcrowd.com. But Patty, with that being said, let's have a word from our sponsors.
Well, Shooter, there's no doubt we've got the best sponsors in the league down here at the Shooter Shack, and I heard we now have a new member on our team.
Well, you're right, Patty, we do. OTM Sports is now live, the world's very first verified social networking site for the hockey's elite, and it's free to become a member. OTM, it's a game changer. In the hockey industry, imagine having an online platform like Facebook, LinkedIn, but it's just for the hockey people. It allows players to stay connected, find playing jobs all over the world. And I'm calling you guys out. Players, coaches, management, agent, scouts. If you guys don't have an account on OTM, you must not be that serious about your career. Hey, Patty, I just wish I had these networking opportunities when I played. Iron Mike Keenan, he is on board with OTM. And why don't you guys head to the new website and check out what Mike Keenan had to say. That is OTMSM.com. Check it out, and don't forget to sign up for your account today.
Now, Shooter, as you know, hockey players losing jibs all the time. One of my buddies actually just lost one of his chiclets, so I've got to ask you, is there someone you know that can help him out?
Well, as a matter of fact, Patty, there is. Dr. Jay Petroff at Maple Ridge Dental. He is the top dentist in Ontario. You call the number on the bottom of the screen and book an appointment today. And if you want to have a smile like the Shooter, make sure you go see Dr. J.
Now, Shooter, I've been thinking about selling my house. Do you know anyone who can help me out?
Well, as a matter of fact, Patty, I sure do. When looking to buy or sell, call Liz and Mel. Liz McKinnon and Melanie Shaw with Remax Rouge River are here for all your buying and selling needs. Mention the name Shooter for free staging when selling your home. Hey, that's a $2,500 discount right here from Uncle Shooter. But give them a call today at 289-314-9110 and visit their website at lizandmel.com. And Patty, while we're here down in the shack, I want to thank a few of our other sponsors. The first one, Wilkins the Barber, the #1 barber in the GTA. And when it comes to the one you want with the clippers, the one you want with the baby powder on the brush, he's the one you gotta have. He keeps this beard looking fresh and looking sharp, and don't think for a second he can't do the same for you. The Royal Oak Whippy North at Garden in Taunton. This is one of my favorite sponsors down here at the shack. Pop in and say hello today and let them know the Shooter sent you for a 10% discount off your bill. MyCustomSportsChair.com, a wonderful product. Custom sports chairs, they're great gifts for anybody of all ages. Go ahead to mycustomsportschairs.ca and put an order in and use the promo code SHOOTER for free shipping anywhere in North America. How about our friends over at JC Storage Solutions? They've always solved all your storage needs. They supply, deliver, install, and engineer all industrial pallet racking and steel shelving systems. Give them a shout today at 416-565-1196. Have you been charged with a criminal offense or a DUI? Perhaps you got a past that you would like a pardon for. Well, HW Legal Support Services can help. Give them a shout today for a free consultation at 647-460-3722.